Automation and AI. Look, they aren't just coming anymore. They're here, and they're changing pretty much everything. So we're going to explore a really radical shift in how we think about work and wealth and even ownership. We're moving past the simple fixes to a much bigger question. Who should own our automated future? Let's dive in.
I want to start with just one number, 47%. Think about that. A huge study from Oxford University found that nearly half of all jobs in the US are at high risk of being automated away. Now, this isn't science fiction, right? This is a real forecast that really forced people to start searching for some very, very big solutions.
And you know, this isn't some new panic. Way back in 2016, President Obama was already pointing out that this wave, it just feels different. And why? Well, it's because AI has what he called pervasive applicability. In other words, it's not just about factory jobs anymore. This technology can touch almost every single profession, from truck drivers to artists to lawyers.
So when you're faced with that kind of massive disruption, the conversation pretty quickly split into two big competing ideas. Should we be taxing the robots, or should we just be paying the people that they're going to displace?
Okay, so here's kind of how those first ideas stacked up. On one side, you had Bill Gates proposing a robot tax. The logic is pretty simple, right? If a robot takes a human's job, the government loses that human's income tax. So you tax the robot to make up for that lost cash, and you use the money to retrain workers. The big risk, though, you might slow down innovation. Then, in the other corner, you have people like Elon Musk championing Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The idea here is to just give everyone a basic no-strings-attached check. It creates a safety net, and it could simplify our super complex welfare systems. But the big concern there, of course, was the massive cost, and a really huge philosophical question. And this is the big one, isn't it? It's the elephant in the room for any talk about UBI. The fear is that if you just give people money for nothing, you kill their motivation to work, or to create, or to contribute anything at all. You could end up funding a future where we're all just lazy. It's a powerful argument, for sure. But what does the actual data say? Well, this is where things get really fascinating. When we've actually tested this stuff, the pilot studies have often shown the exact opposite of what the critics fear. Get this. A study in India found that when households got these grants, their work output, it actually doubled. And a trial in Canada way back in the 70s found that UBI didn't lead to laziness at all. It led to better social outcomes, more kids graduating high school, fewer visits to the hospital, and even a drop in domestic violence. It seems like having a safety net doesn't make people stop, it gives them the stability to build something better. But here's the twist. Just as we were all busy debating how to handle robots taking our jobs, the robots got creative. The arrival of really powerful generative AI just changed the entire game. Suddenly, the problem wasn't just about jobs disappearing anymore, it was about a whole new set of harms that you couldn't just fix by throwing money at it. So yeah, generative AI completely reframed the whole challenge. It introduced these new kinds of problems that a simple robot tax or a basic income check, they just weren't designed to solve. So, legal scholars started to pinpoint 4 new, really specific harms. First, these AI models were trained by scraping the entire internet, just vacuuming up massive amounts of copyrighted art and text and music without asking, what a lot of people call stolen material. Second, it wasn't just low-skill jobs at risk anymore. Now it was high-skill professions, doctors, lawyers, coders. Third, because AI learns from our often biased world, it was caught amplifying and even automating discrimination. And finally, number 4, it was creating this winner-take-all market that threatened to concentrate wealth on a scale we've literally never seen before. And this is the new reality. This isn't just theory, right? Research from places like the George Washington University Law School totally confirmed it. We had moved way past a simple economic problem of lost jobs. Now, we were staring down this tangled mess of legal, ethical, and societal crises that needed a completely different kind of solution. And let's just zoom in on that last problem for a second. Wealth concentration. I mean, the way the AI industry is built, with these huge needs for data and computing power, it just creates these natural monopolies. The real fear is that a tiny handful of companies and their shareholders are going to capture basically all of the economic gains, leaving pretty much everyone else with the crumbs. A simple tax on profits? It wouldn't even touch an imbalance that extreme.
So, with the problem redefined so dramatically, a new, much more radical solution started to bubble up. The whole conversation shifted from just taxing the profits that AI makes to a much deeper question about who actually owns the technology itself.
And this led to a pretty wild idea.
an in-kind equity tax. So, instead of paying their taxes with cash, the big AI companies would pay by giving new ownership shares, stock, directly to the public. Essentially, it's a tax on AI that's paid with AI. And what that does is it transforms the public from just being tax collectors into actual part owners.
Now, this whole concept, sometimes called sharing the algorithm, is built on a really powerful idea. Generative AI was trained on public data, our words, our art, our shared culture that it scraped from the web. So the argument goes, if the public helped create it, the public has a right to share in the ownership and the rewards of that technology.
And here's the fundamental difference. A normal cash tax gives the public revenue, which the government then decides how to spend. But an equity tax, that gives the public two things. Revenue, sure, through dividends and share value, but also a direct voice. As shareholders, the public literally gets a seat at the table where the big decisions about this technology are being made.
And this is where it all kind of clicks into place. Look at how this one single policy could target all four of those big harms from generative AI. It directly compensates the creators and the public whose data was used to build it. It lets workers who are replaced by AI share in the profits of that same tech. It gives the public a say in fighting bias from inside the company. And just by its nature, it directly fights wealth concentration by spreading ownership out to everyone. It's this one, unified approach to a super complex problem.
So what's the big picture here? Where does this all leave us? Well, this huge shift in thinking, from just taxation to actual ownership, it completely changes the nature of the entire debate about our future with AI.
And this is really why this all matters so much. We've moved way beyond a simple conversation about unemployment benefits. This is now a fundamental debate about power and about control. Who gets to steer the development of what might be the most transformative technology in human history? Who benefits from it? And who gets to have a say in how it completely reshapes our society?
Ultimately, it really all comes down to this one question. Since AI is built on all of our collective knowledge and our data, and since it is absolutely going to change our lives and our economy forever, should the public have a direct ownership stake in its future? That's the provocative idea we're left with, and how we decide to answer that question is probably going to define the next chapter for all of us.